Welcome to The Explainer! So today, we're diving into something we literally surround ourselves with every single day, yet probably almost never think about. I'm talking about partition walls. We tend to view them just as basic room dividers, simple physical boundaries that separate a hallway from a bedroom. But as we're going to see today, they are actually these critical space-defining design elements that completely dictate the sustainability, the functionality, and even the acoustic reality of the buildings we live and work in.
Here's the roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with what partition walls actually are, then look at traditional masonry and blocks, modern framing and panels, specialized acoustic partitions, and finally, movable walls and flexibility.
Section 1. What are partition walls? The anatomy of a building.
To really wrap your head around this, think of a building kind of like a living organism. A partition wall is essentially a non-load-bearing division. It's put there specifically to separate internal rooms, ensure privacy, and organize the layout. But honestly, the absolute most important part of that definition is the term non-load-bearing. These walls do not carry the structural weight of the building above them at all. So in modern construction, the choice of a partition depends entirely on the specific requirements for your materials and your overall design.
Right, so think of load-bearing walls as the structural skeleton holding the roof up. If you remove one of those, well, the building is in serious trouble. Partition walls, on the other hand, they're more like flexible cartilage. They're doing very specific internal jobs. They divide a massive open floor plan into a cozy dining room and a functional kitchen, for example. They dictate the flow of light, the transfer of sound, and really just the overall usability of the space.
Section 2. Traditional masonry and blocks. The permanent heavyweights.
For centuries, we relied heavily on traditional brick walls. Typically built with a stretcher bond and plastered on both sides, they offer extreme durability and they naturally block sound because they're non-flammable and dense. But they have some massive drawbacks. They are super labor-intensive to build, completely immobile, and their heavy, rigid nature makes them totally unsuitable for high-risk seismic zones. That vulnerability practically begged for stronger, lighter alternatives.
And one of those incredible alternatives is the hollow concrete block. When you run a thermal testing simulation on these, you immediately notice the air pockets or cavities inside the block itself. When solar radiation hits the outer face, those air pockets actually act as a buffer. They provide this excellent thermal insulation, which drastically reduces the energy needed to heat and cool a building. I mean, it's a massive upgrade from just a solid traditional brick.
The data is actually pretty striking when we talk about density. A solid concrete block sits at over 2,600 kilograms per cubic meter. Traditional burnt clay bricks are around 2,200, but hollow concrete blocks, they drop all the way down to just under 1,600. Because they are so much lighter, they drastically reduce the dead load resting on the main structural skeleton of the building, while still giving you great rigidity and fire resistance.
And it actually gets better. Hollow block systems aren't just lighter and more energy efficient, they are significantly cheaper. Using hollow concrete blocks can be up to 33.3% more economical than traditional burnt clay brick masonry for the exact same volume of wall. You get a higher speed of construction, way less weight, better insulation, and it just costs less. It's a win-win.
Section 3. Modern framing and panels. Lightweight, fast, and functional.
As our needs changed, we started prioritizing speed, aesthetics, and targeted functionality over just sheer permanence, bringing us an incredible toolkit of modern materials. Take gypsum, commonly known as drywall. Fixed to metal or timber frames, it's lightweight, incredibly cost-effective, and if you dent it, it's super easy to repair. Imagine throwing up moisture-resistant drywall for a quick bathroom renovation. Then you've got glass partitions, perfect for letting natural light flow through a space while staying damp-proof. Timber offers this beautiful, warm aesthetic, though. Actually, quick side note, you do have to treat it so it doesn't become a termite buffet, and it's generally not fireproof. And finally, metal, usually steel or aluminum, which gives you a modular system offering extreme durability, perfect for a busy workspace where you might need to relocate the wall next year.
Section 4. Specialized and acoustic partitions, controlling the unseen environment.
Now let's shift gears from what walls look like to how they actually perform, specifically when it comes to elite sound control, which is essential for places like cinemas or classrooms. To understand this, you need the right technical vocabulary. The crucial metric here is STC, or Sound Transmission Class. It's basically a single number rating indicating how well a building partition attenuates or reduces airborne sound. The higher the number, the better the wall is at stopping sound dead in its tracks.
Let's translate that STC data into real life.
At an STC of 27, you can easily hear normal conversations right through the wall. A standard house partition gets you an STC of about 33, so loud speech is heard as a murmur, but you can't quite make out the words. But if you want true privacy, say for a bedroom where someone is trying to sleep while the TV is absolutely blaring next door, you need an STC of 50, where loud speech is completely blocked. And an STC of 55 gives you genuinely excellent soundproofing.
But what if you were building a professional recording studio, right? A space where you're recording high-energy drums right next to a room where someone is mixing delicate acoustic guitars. You need an STC rating of 70 to 85 plus. No way you're getting that with standard materials. This elite level of isolation requires highly specialized room-within-room construction. We're talking heavy, decoupled layers where sound vibrations literally have no structural path to travel along.
Section 5. Movable walls and flexibility. The dynamic space. So, what if your wall doesn't just sit there blocking sound, but actually adapts to your changing needs? We've advanced light years beyond simple hinges. Movable partitions allow a single large room, like a conference hall, to become 3 smaller meeting rooms in minutes. The progression here is amazing. You start with manual systems where you physically slide panels along a top-mounted track, then semi-automatic systems where you slide the panel, but an electric motor deploys acoustic seals to the floor and ceiling instantly. And finally, fully automatic systems that use motorized systems to move the walls completely on their own, often storing them seamlessly up into the ceiling plenums when you don't need them.
And the best part? You really don't sacrifice utility for all that flexibility. These dynamic walls are highly customizable. You can finish them in melamine, use painted surfaces, or even tempered glass to keep the space bright. You can even surface them with magnetic whiteboards, literally turning your partition wall into a massive functional teaching tool for a classroom or a brainstorming canvas for a modern co-working space. It's incredibly smart.
Section 6. Versatility and conclusion. Finding the perfect balance.
We've covered a huge amount of ground today, from ancient masonry to fully automated panels. But it really all comes back to this simple truth. Choosing the right partition wall is a delicate balance of your budget, your durability requirements, and your functional needs. There is no single best wall out there. It depends entirely on whether your priority is maximizing natural light, achieving that elite sound isolation, or maintaining the flexibility to reconfigure your workspace as things evolve.
So I want to leave you with this, to think about as you look around the rooms you're sitting in right now. Budget, durability, or elite soundproofing. What does your space actually need next? Once you understand the true anatomy of a building, a wall is no longer just a barrier, it's a tool. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and honestly, I hope you never look at a room divider the same way again.